It's been a little while since I've done a stories from the ride video on my channel, and that is my video log that I do where I just talk about things that happened while we were out riding. And so this one is something that happened last night, and I've been riding on roads off and on for about 25 years now. My road riding is on dirt roads on my gravel bike, and I've dealt with a lot of dogs on bikes, but I had probably the worst near mauling last night by a dog. Fortunately, I didn't get bit. It bit my shoe. But so this is a dog story. And I know from talking to other riders that there have been attacks where people have had to have multiple stitches on their calf or whatever. And it can be pretty scary. So last night I was on a dirt road and I was kind of near the end of an interval session, and it's one of my most intense intervals that I do. It's 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, so 30 seconds as hard as you can go. So your heart rate is skying on these, and you repeat that like 20 times. So I was on rep about 16, and a dog leapt out of the bushes next to me, and it had like a rope around its neck that had been broken, so it obviously had broken loose. And you know, normally what happens is a dog will just kind of run beside you, and then once you get about 100 yards away from the house, it just kind of turns around and goes back home. Well, this one was in attack mode. I was obviously prey to this dog, and so it kept kind of lunging at me, and I think it came around on my right side because I unclipped my foot and I kicked it in the mouth as it was lunging at me. And I've done that before with great success with smaller dogs, and the dog is kind of like run back home. This one was about a medium to large size dog. It looked like a yellow lab mix. And so, you know, I kind of pushed it away with my foot and it kept coming at me. And I slowed down, I was just yelling at it. Fortunately, it was staying back a couple feet for the most part. And every time I tried to start pedaling again, it would just start lunging at me. And so finally, normally you can outrun a dog on a sprint. A dog can run about 20 miles an hour, a really fast one, maybe 25. So I was on my cyclocross race bike. So it's a carbon bike that accelerates really fast, but I didn't have enough of a gap on this dog to do that because I had slowed down. It startled me so much I put on my brakes because it ran in front of my bike now that I remember it. It ran in front of my bike, so I had to slam on the brakes so I didn't hit it. So by then my speed was low enough to where I couldn't out sprint the dog. And so, like I said, it's coming at me. Finally, I just had to get off my bike because every time I tried to pedal, it would just come at me and I was just going slower and slower. So I put my bike between me and the dog, and it kept kind of coming at me, and it, had the snarl where it's, showing its fangs. So like I said, normally when a dog like runs next to a bike, it doesn't look like it's in attack mode. This one, it had the snarl and just looks super aggressive, and it's coming at me, and I'm holding my bike and kind of hitting it with the tire, and I just kept yelling at it, go home, that kind of thing, and it just would not leave me alone. I walked for probably 4 or 5 minutes with the bike between me and the dog, and it just kept coming at me, kind of hitting the bike. And so that's one lesson. We'll talk about what you can do with dog attacks, but that's one lesson, is to make sure you keep your bike between you and the dog, and just, if it comes at you, just hit it with your wheel or whatever. So finally, I was able to get probably 300 yards away from this house, and the dog kind of moseyed back that way, and I called 911 because I wanted animal control out there. Obviously, like I said, it had broken loose, and it was the most aggressive dog I've ever dealt with. Fortunately, like I said, it did not bite me. It did bite my shoe and kind of probably bit my bike tire. But so I called 911. I didn't have the number for animal control, so they asked me if I wanted to meet the deputy out there. I said no, I'm getting out of here, and plus I had to get back home. I had to meet someone at my house, so I said no, just have them call me. So a little while later, the deputy called me, and he's kind of like, how can I help you? And I told him the story, and then he's like, well, what do you want me to do? I said, well, tell the owner that I have a concealed weapons permit, and I will bring my gun next time, and I will discharge it on that dog if it comes at me again. So he actually called me back a second time and said he talked to the owner. Animal control was notified. They made a report. The owner apologized, said it wouldn't happen again, did confirm that the dog had broken loose. So, like I said, 25 years of riding on roads, and that was the most aggressive dog attack. Fortunately, it didn't end badly where I had to go to the hospital and get stitches, but I've talked to riders and I've seen email posts on my local cycling club where people have been attacked by dogs. So it's a very serious matter. In fact, just before I shot this video, I looked up, just to kind of see how to fend off a dog on a bike. I have my ideas. It's called a 380 with a hollow point. But, so I found this article in Bicycling Magazine that talked about this guy who was just, pulled off his bike with two dogs, one biting his calf, one biting his shoulder, and just traumatized the dude. So it can be pretty serious. So here's some of the tips that they give to deal with dogs. One, my favorite, is out sprint it. Good training, but seriously, if you're not going up a hill, you can probably outrun the dog if you're in pretty good fitness. One, you try to scare it or deter it by yelling, which I tried, or you can spray it with your water bottle. I didn't want to kick the thing too hard because I had a feeling this one would just get pissed off and really come at me if I kicked it too hard. I thought about pepper spray. I've never really carried it on a ride for that reason, but I've heard people that do it, and I may do that. It's probably a little more civilized than shooting the thing. But pepper spray might be an idea. Give it something to chew on other than your leg. So, bike tire, kind of put it in its mouth or whatever, and then you can have the owner replace your $90 Schwalbe tubeless tire. Or the last one, I love this one, play dead. No thank you. I will do everything but that. So anyway, and here's my dog. Come here, Georgia. So this one is not a vicious dog. She's a nice dog, unless she has a piece of meat that she stole from the table and you try to get it from her. Then she snarls, but other than that, she's a nice dog. So when I was looking up how to fend off a dog, I see this, and this looks interesting. This is the Sonic Animal Chaser for $22. It's like a little gun that emits a high-pitched noise, I assume. So that might be fun. There is an app you can download that emits a really loud chirping sound. So, maybe I could try that. But anyway, so those are the tips, I guess you could say, to deal with a dog. And it's funny, when I got back to my office, when I saved my ride on my Garmin, it said, "Congratulations, new max heart rate, 190." So I was in the middle of my interval, and then that, I guess, just got my adrenaline up and gave me a new max heart rate. So there's a training tip for you. If you want to get your heart rate up real high. No, but seriously, it was pretty startling. So that's my story. I'm sure there's people out there watching this video who have dog stories. So why don't you leave those in the comments below, and maybe if you have tips that you've done to fend off a dog and they worked, leave them below. They may be helpful for a lot of us out there. So that's my video log for this time. Thanks for watching.